do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Let me start off by saying good morning to all who have joined the February the 21st, 2023 program, the CRCS, with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we do thank you for the opportunity to be able to be with you, on this particular day, and we hope to have an outstanding show. Now, if you would like to be a participant in the show, all you have to do is call this number, which is 516-453-9921. And if you'd like to have a question or comment, just press the number 1 button, and you can get in line. Well, you will get in line, and you can ask your question briefly, or a small statement that you may want to make, and make that briefly too. And that will be good. The next thing that you could do is, if you are a new caller, first-time caller, make sure you tell the call screener that, and you can give the call screener your name and tell the call screener that you are a first-time caller, and we have something set up for you where you can be heard. The second way to contact the show is you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. And please, ma'am, please, sir, you can leave me just a small letter or a statement that you would like to be read. It doesn't have to be a novel, just a small statement that could be read on the radio. And if you'd like, I will not mention your name, and you can go on with that. The third way is that you can join the chat room, which it is beginning to fill up right now. I see B. Sam's just checked in. Good. And Tex Green just checked in. And Unknown Unknowns is in the house. All righty. And a few others. Some of them I cannot pronounce their name properly, so I'll forego that. But thank you for joining the conversation. Make sure you follow all the rules when you get in there, and have a lively chat. And sometimes I will, at times, select something that is being said, but do not use the chat room to ask me a question, to ask Mr. Fuller. And that's what the Gmail is for, or the number that you can call. That's what that is for. I think that is it for that. All the books are in. You can get by going to ProduceJustice.com here at the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., who is on the line. And I think that is the general housekeeping that I have to do right now. So let me get right to it. Let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
All right. With that being said, thoughts and expressions on the mind of Neely Fuller is a feature that we have here. And Mr. Fuller, in this morning of the 21st of February, 2023, what is on your mind that you would like to share with the radio audience?
Well, as always, the reason I'm here on the air is how to have a world of peace. But before you can get peace, you have to have the manifestation of truth, justice, and correctness. That's the equation.
And you have to use truth, which means whatever is, and you reveal it, just like it is. There's a slang expression that says, tell it like it is. So that's what you do. You have to have truth if you're going to have a thing called justice, which means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help consistently at all times throughout the entire known universe. And correctness means balance between people and things, the correct thing to do about people and trees, people and water, people and different types of plants. Some plants are made to be eaten, others are not. You can have too much of things in the form of plants, what we call food, or not enough, and this causes problems. So you have to have balance between people and things, like all of the different type of plants that are available to people and other creatures here on what they call the planet Earth. So you have truth, justice, and correctness, which means balance between all things, correct balance. People have to be correctly balanced with each other in order to have this thing called peace. And they have correct balance between the things that you see all around you, like I just outlined. And then you have to have all these three things in balance, correct balance, in order to have this thing called peace. Otherwise, you definitely don't have it. And as it is now here in the year 2023, everything is out of balance. People are out of balance with each other. They're out of balance with all of the elements around them. And that's all people throughout the planet. And certainly, since my focus is what's the epicenter of all of this imbalance, it deals with the smartest people who are on the planet, in my opinion, and according to the evidence, the smartest and most powerful people are people who, unfortunately, believe in something called racism in the form of white supremacy. Now, racism is about mistreating people. So you have an imbalance right there. And then that causes everything else to be out of balance. But also, what else is on my mind, and I have to cover this, someone wrote in to me, and it was handed to me yesterday, a person or persons called J-Full FemZ. And they made this comment on a video. Now, I haven't made any videos. There are other people who have made videos. I have seen some about me. That's videos. I'm on audio. I haven't made any videos that are available, at least that are available to the public, except some that have been called to my attention that other people have made, but they didn't consult me on making them. So this letter is from J-Full FemZ on YouTube. And the person or persons say, no solutions, just an old defeated black man. It's actually sad because I thought Mr. Neely Fuller had true wisdom, but he's simply a defeated, terrified black man. Exclamation point. I understand his stance on white supremacy, but do not offer any solutions on how black men can overcome this mental prison is sad and weak of him, meaning Neely Fuller Jr. He basically says, just sit and take it. And this is someone's evaluation, apparently, of the person who is talking now, Neely Fuller Jr. He's just simply a defeated, terrified black man. He offers no solutions, and he says the only solution that he does offer is for black people to sit and take it. So, what does the code say about when somebody says something about you? The first thing you want to know is really not who said it. You want to know if it's true. But you got to have the truth. So it comes down to the first thing that we deal with in this letter, this email, is Neely full of fear and terrified? And I ask myself that, looking for the truth. Am I full of fear? Neely Fuller, is he full of fear? Is he terrified? The answer is yes. But not most of the time, like most black people, only sometimes. I don't walk around all choked up with fear every day, all the time, but there are instances when I am very afraid. And there have been some instances in my entire existence, because I've been here a little while, where I've been terrified. So, in answer to the question, is Neely full of fear? And is he terrified? The answer is yes. But some of the time. Not all the time. Not most of the time. Okay, so the next thing it says, he doesn't offer any solutions. Well, I say, I haven't come up with a solution, not yet, but I'm still working at a solution. And when I look around, so you're talking about a solution to the race problem, hasn't anybody solved it? But I'm working at it. And I haven't seen anybody. I've seen a lot of people, a whole lot of people, who are working around the clock at trying to get rid of racism. But have they actually done it? No. No one has done it, according to everything that's come to my attention. Racism still exists. So no one has come up with a solution by evidence that the race problem has been solved. So does Neely Fuller offer any solutions? I have some suggestions, but I don't guarantee that they are solutions. Because if I could guarantee that they are solutions, the guarantee would have already shown itself, meaning racism would not exist if Neely Fuller had a solution to the problem of racism. Okay, but I have offered a textbook workbook that I think has suggestions in a sort of ragged way that would lead to solutions. Certainly I'm working according to the suggestions that I have made to other people. And some of them have worked for me, the ones that I have put tests to. They have worked so far. So I just need to come up with better suggestions, I guess, in order to do that. Now, he's also mentioned that I'm old. Well, yes. Defeated? Yes, so far, because the system of racism is still in operation. So I haven't defeated racism. Racism has defeated me. So I have to answer yes to that. As racism defeated me so far. but I'm also continuing the battle. That's what I'm doing right now on air, even by answering this letter. I'm continuing the battle. I have been defeated so far, and when I look around the world, so is every black person that's breathing been defeated. And all of the black people who are not breathing. But as long as you're breathing and you're still battling against racism, speaking and acting, trying to do what you can, be ever so feebly, you're not defeated finally. You're just being defeated currently. So there's a difference there. Sit and take it. I have never advocated that. I don't know where that came from, but my solution is to sit and take it. I have never, ever said that. And I've been on this planet a little while, but those words have never come out of my mouth. The black people's solution to the race problem is for black people to just sit and take it. I have never said that. And this is very important for everything in the discussion about racism. Get your words straight, please, and get your information straight. That's what I ask of Mr. J. from Tim Z. and everybody else. Listen carefully to what people say. I've never said that. There's no recording of me ever saying, well, the solution to the race problem for black people is to sit back and take it. No. I have never, ever said that. And I continue to say, what I do say, use the compensatory counter-racist code, and I'm saying that this morning. Use the compensatory counter-racist code, that means my textbook, to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. That is what I suggest as a solution. Since this whole letter was about Neely Fuller, just some old worn-out black dude who was sitting by the road, I guess, or somewhere, sad, at him being defeated, and he offers no solution, but he's got a lot of talk. Well, the talk is a part of his solution. The textbook that I have written. Thought, I did some thinking before I wrote it, a little bit, not enough, apparently, so far. Speech, and I'm speaking now, against racism, because the racists allow me to do that, so I don't have a whole lot of fear of doing it. All they have to do is say, you say one more word, Neely Fuller, and I'm going to send the army to kill you. And ain't nobody can protect me, so I will be really terrified. Or I'll just resign myself to, well, the army's coming after me. I ain't nowhere for me to run. They'll find me. They'll get all the black people to help them find me. Those black people will be afraid of them. That's what I've seen. So they'll come looking for me. And somebody will find me, because I don't think, I wouldn't, if everybody in the world is looking for me, Neely Fuller to kill, I don't think they'd have a whole lot of difficulty. I think they'll find me by the next 2 or 3 hours, because I can't move that fast and wouldn't know where to go anyway if everybody's looking for me. Most wanted person on the planet, he got to go before sundown today. I'd be gone. I'd be dead. And they'll probably put some terror in me in the process. Particularly if they're going to do something like, when you catch them, throw gasoline on them and burn them alive. Now, I kind of got an idea of what burning alive is like. So I'd kind of be terrified, I think, of that. So all of the charges, for the most part, in this letter, are correct. Except the ones about I'm not offering suggestions for solutions. but about half of them are correct. Being old, see, that's what I mean by paying attention to words. I couldn't help getting old. If I'm going to stay here, I get old. Terrified, sometimes. Having fear, yeah, fear is an emotion. I've sometimes, in my 93 years, been afraid. There are circumstances when I have had fear, but not most of the time. So I'm just evaluating the letter that I have received for what? Truth. And I don't object to letters like this. And what I'm doing, I'm hoping, is just to help reveal truth about Neely Fuller, since everybody who's listening to me now is listening to me now. So that's what's on my mind. I'm answering a letter truthfully and practicing truth. Yes, the letters seems like to be a criticism of me, and some of the criticism is true, and then quite a bit of it is not. So I hope I'm clearing it up.
All right, Mr. Fuller, and the letter. Okay, thank you. 516-453-9921 is the number to get in contact with today's show. Let's go to Milwaukee. Get ready, Corey, because we are coming your way right now. Go ahead, Corey, with your question for Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, what would be a few words of advice to give to a younger, non-white black person who's a victim of white supremacy racism that's maybe too young to actually to read the code book or the word guide? What would be a few good words of advice to give to that young person in their journey of fighting racism?
What would be my advice in talking to people about using the textbook to fight racism? Is that your question?
No, what would you say to a younger person who's...
what would I say to a younger person?
Yeah, who's not able to read the textbook yet.
Who is not able to read the textbook yet?
Yes.
Well, the only compensatory thing that I can suggest now is to listen to the program or recordings of the program. I imagine people out there recording what I'm saying. I'm on the air for the whole world. So just listen to the Tuesday program that we're having right now. And you might hear something that will make you think of something that you can do that would be of constructive value. That's all. That's the criteria. A black person doing something constructive. That is poison to the system of white supremacy. Just that alone. That if you learn anything from listening to this program that will inspire you or set you on the road or whatever, where you wind up as a result of listening to something said that anybody, whether it's Neely Fuller or some of the callers, that is of constructive value, where you can get off the phone or listen whatever you're listening to, the podcast, and do something, say something to someone or do something that has a constructive result, CR, constructive result, anything that has a constructive result, you are dismantling the system of white supremacy big time. Because a black person is never supposed to do or say anything that produces a constructive result unless it's done for the system of white supremacy, to make the system of white supremacy stronger. So that's what you can pass on to anybody who can't read my book. Just do something, just look around at the world that you're in and say, now, I'm going to find something to do that's constructive. And try to do something constructive every day, if I can. Not let that day pass without doing something of constructive value. Solve a problem without making a problem. That's constructive. Just do anything constructive. Because if you're black and on the planet Earth in the system of white supremacy, according to the white supremacists, you're never supposed to do anything that makes sense unless you're doing it for the benefit of white supremacy. That's their code. Absolutely. You let a black person get out there on their own and say, okay, in other words, the plantation owner says, which we all own a plantation, we haven't left. The whole earth is a plantation for black people, and all the plants that are worth anything go to the white supremacists under the system of white supremacy. So if you do anything that is contrary to what the white supremacists want, you're doing something of constructive value.
Okay. Thank you, Corey. And with that, we will take a break here. You're listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and we thank you for your participation and for your listening to that. We will read your Gmails, take your phone calls, and occasionally we will mention some things that are in the chat room. Now, to get in contact with the show, if you do have a question or something to add to the show, just call this number, 516-453-9921. If you have something to say, press the number 1 button and you can get in line, and your call will be answered accordingly. If you are a first-time caller, make sure that you tell the call screener that as you give them your name, and we have a special program set up for you. You can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com. I'm not promising you that it will be read today, but at a date and time it will be read, and I will give you my symbol to let you know that I have received it. And, of course, when it's read, the date and time of that. You can also get in the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com. You might want to click on the programs or shows, and then the Produce Justice show will come up. You click on that. I think that's under programs. Yeah, you click on that, and then once you do that, then the chat room area is available for you to get in there, and you can get into the chat room and find out what's going on in the chat. Occasionally, I will select something of interest and put it out there, and we can go from there. And importantly, if you haven't got your copy, you need to get your copy of Mr. Fuller's book. It is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. You can pick that up by going to producejustice.com. And when you go there, past shows are there. I think when Mr. Fuller was on the Carl Nelson show a couple of weeks ago, I think that's still up. But books and information is right there for you to get. And you may want to take that into consideration. Okay. Boy, New York is really representing in here today, from Brooklyn to Harlem. And now we have Tess. Wow. What is going on? We'll find out. Tess, you are now on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
First, I want to thank Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby, the call screeners, and all those involved.
and making this show available to us. As well, a thank you to the listeners and those in the chat room. It has been stated by Mr. Fuller that sexual confusion is one of the tactics that white supremacists use to oppress the non-white people of this planet. We were then warned by Mr. Fuller that religion is the next area of people activity that white supremacists may target. My question is as follows. Mr. Fuller, what are your thoughts or concerns regarding religious confusion in the years to come?
Religious confusion?
Yes, sir.
What are my thoughts on religious confusion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go first of all, compensatory definition of religion. What is it? What is a religion? Religion is a strong belief backed up by action. You've got to have those two things to have a religion. A strong belief backed up by action. That's a slang way of saying it. A person has belief in something, and they act on what they say they believe. A person says, I like to have my coffee at 8 o'clock in the morning. I drink coffee, the person might say to the world, I drink coffee. I drink coffee every morning. I like to drink it at 8 o'clock on the dot. And I believe in drinking coffee at 8 o'clock on the dot. And I back up my belief by drinking coffee at 8 o'clock on the dot every morning. So now that itself is a part of that person's religion. They do other things, so that's a part of their religion. Whatever you're doing that you believe in doing, not what you're forced to do, but that when anybody gives you just a little time to use your time and energy, which is what you're born with, on your own, these are the things you do. So whatever you're doing at the moment you're doing it and you believe in doing it, you're not doing it under any kind of pressure. That is a part of your religion. So, the religion of the white supremacists is white supremacy. So in answer to the question, that's the strongest religion in the world. It is proven to be stronger than any religion. People who say that they have other religious faiths other than white supremacy, every now and then you'll see them do something that, if you hang around and really watch them, that's really contrary to what they said their religion was. They're not doing what their religion required them to do. Religions have rules, and I have witnessed that. But there's one thing about the white supremacists. Everything that they say that was helped to support the system of white supremacy. Everything that they do is in support of the system of white supremacy. They believe in it and they practice it 24/7 and burn midnight oil trying to figure out how to make it stronger. Almost every minute of every day from what I have witnessed. And nobody else does that of any religion from what I have seen and heard. But the white supremacists. And they're the most successful religion that has ever existed in the history of the world. So if you're talking about strong religions, we need a counter-religion, and I've adopted and this has got to be understood, I have adopted a description of the religion that I have always had and didn't know that I had it until back in the late 1960s, and that's called eclectic pluralism. Up to then, I called myself a Christian. But then I looked at all the requirements that I was being told of what it takes to be a Christian. And I said, I'm nowhere near being that. You know, I had to tell myself the truth. Am I a Christian? That's a question. What's the answer for? Well, what is a Christian? What does a Christian do in all 9 areas of activity? Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, other people's religions, sex, and war. There are requirements, I guess. So I started looking at all the requirements that I heard preachers say, and it got real confusing. And I say, I'm real confused about the requirements of the religion that I tell people that I got. I'm confused. You're not supposed to be ever confused about your religion. Your religion. How are you going to be confused? But I was confused. I said, so, hey, confusion. And you're supposed to be a Christian? And you're going to go around telling people you're one? And then you'll doubt for yourself about what you're supposed to be? Talking about religion now in answer to the question. So I stopped calling myself that. I say, now, if I'm not a Christian, then what am I? Well, I say, according to the Christians, I'm a sinner. And what else am I? You're just a sinner, I mean, and that's it? Well, within my sinner self, and I found 2 words that would describe myself, eclectic pluralist. And this is in the code book. That's why I'm stretching out this answer. I'm an eclectic pluralist. I found 2 words. I put the 2 words together, eclectic and pluralist. Now, what's the definition? When you put it means a person who thinks, says, and does many things. Many things like what? Whatever the person thinks, says, and does. And what Neely Fuller does is try, first of all, when it comes to religion, try to find the true religion. And that's how it's described in the book. I'm still, at my age now, trying to find the true religion, because everybody I've encountered say they have the true religion. And my goodness, the religions are all over the place. Buddhism, Confucianism, Islam, Christianity, and then Christianity, the person say, oh, wait a minute, hold it. I hear a lot of Christians say that. What kind of Christian are you? Are you a Mormon? Because we know the way. And then another person was shot out from the back of the room. Hey, wait a minute. Tyrion, I don't know about you Mormon people. I don't know what y'all doing or what that's all about. I mean, it might be a whole bunch of foolishness to me, but I am a Presbyterian, and we are the true religion. And then another person says, oh, my goodness, I'm a Lutheran. I'm hearing all these people talking all this garbage. I don't know what's going on. They should be Lutherans like me. We are the true religion. And another person says, I'm Reverend Jones. You got to get Reverend Jones' religion. He said, well, what is Reverend Jones' religion? Reverend Jones. You come to Reverend Jones' church, you're going to get the real gospel. All the rest of these churches, they don't know what they're doing. This is the church of Reverend Jones. In answer to the question, the white supremacist said, I'm superior to all of you. My religion is white supremacy. And if you're black, you come under your God, which is me. And I prove it to you every day when you get ready to eat or get on a bus You're eating food that I provide, and you're getting on a bus that I provide, and I tell you where to sit on that bus. I'm your God, Negro. I think you may get the frame of reference. I hope that long-winded answer says what is the world of religion like in the system of white supremacy. That's it. Unless I have been misinformed.
All righty. Thank you, Tess, from New York, and we're going to continue in New York. Let me give the number here. 516-453-9921 is the number to get in contact with the show. Joe, who has Harlem right there. Joe, what you got going, Joe?
Hey, good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. So my question today is, why is using counter-racist language important to countering racism and white supremacy?
Why is what? Say that again.
Why is using counter-racism language important to countering racism?
Because using counter-racist language is important in countering racism. And since you brought this subject up, it was something that I was intending to do in the opening, but I had to read that letter. America, I'm going to get back to that again, because this is in the textbook. I keep telling people, and I don't know why people keep doing it, because I keep asking people, not just telling people. Neely Fuller don't know that much, but I just tell people stuff. I ask questions. I want to know what exactly is an American, and also, while we're at it, what is an African, and what is an Asian, and when do you know the difference? The Asians breathe air? Well, the answer is yes. Okay, does that qualify you to specifically be an Asian, but you're not nothing else? See, these words, and then when you get to the word American, it's all over the place. And it seems like everybody keeps missing that. I mean, people with all kinds of degrees will say that America has mistreated black people since its very beginning. And I keep asking a simple question. What is an American? What exactly is an American? Please, will somebody tell Neely Fuller before he dies, which is just around the corner? I'm at the age now. Somebody needs to tell me exactly what an American is, and exactly what an Asian is, and exactly what an African is. And I mean with absolute precision. Because I got so lost after decades of trying to find out. I finally gave her definitions that I can work with. I say an African, an American, and an Asian. These are words. An African, an American, and an Asian are people who practice justice. That's the only definition that makes sense. None of the other definitions make sense. Asian, African, American, they don't make sense unless you center it around one word, justice. People who practice justice. That's it. And if you don't practice justice, you're not an American. It's impossible to be an American if you don't practice justice. Asian or African, you can't be any one of those three things according to what? Neely Fuller? No, according to logic. You can comb through all encyclopedias and look up the words like I have done, a few times, dictionaries all over the place. I looked it up. None of it makes sense except people who practice justice. Otherwise, they're just some words. Americans did this. Americans did that. What is an American? African did this. I got African blood. What is that? What is that? What exactly is African blood? You look at maps and whatnot. Who makes the maps? Maps all over the place. Depends on who makes it. And the map says this, and the map says that. You track it down, you find out some white supremacist made the map in order to make what? White supremacy stronger. Because you find some places, when you really go there and look at the place, they are bigger than what was on the map compared to something else that was on the map. So look at things in depth. But center, right here on this day in 2023, this center on, if you just want to deal with words, and I got the word guide here on my desk, where I say what an African is, what an American is, and what an Asian is. And right now in 2023, according to logic, not one of those three things exist. Because you can't have Africans, Americans, or Asians in the system of white supremacy. That's impossible. Because what is an African? What is an American? What is an Asian? They're people that, first of all, they're not eagles or swans or blue mountains. They are people. That's number one. People who do what? Practice justice. And nobody can practice justice in the system of white supremacy. They do not allow it.
All righty. Thank you, Joe from Harlem. All righty. A lot of people in this concept or in this nation and around the world are on the switchboard. That's good. Hey, continuing that New York theme, let's go to New York again. And the dollar with some holler. Dollar bill, you're on with Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Oh, my God, Mr. Fuller, good morning. You know what? You confused me now. I had a question from the textbook I wanted to read, but with the American, the African, and the Asian, it brought about something that I am still confused with. If I say to you, yo, I'm American, and you say to me, yo, I'm African, I'm only assuming in that context that's where you from. So I'm kind of confused right now because when people use that term, it's usually to say, that's where I'm from. So if I say, if you're talking about a concept, why is it that an African and an Asian, because I went to get my dictionaries, I ain't had the time to open them yet and get those meanings, but why is it that you're saying that they're the only ones that, what did you say, in reference to justice? Why is African and Asian and, what was the other one? Asian, American, and African. Right. Why are they the ones that you would just say they can't be and they can only be justice if people are using it in the context of where they live or where that continent they come from?
It gets confusing because you got a lot of white people who are in what they call, if you talk about places, who are born and raised, and their folks are born and raised in a place called Africa. In fact, you got some white people and a lot of black people who will say everybody came from Africa, including all the people in China. There are a lot of black scholars who hey, they will tear down the walls if anybody disagrees with that. Black scholars who will say what we usually say is civilization began in Africa. And all of the people who are on the planet now are descendants of people who came from what they call a place called Africa. But is Africa, being an African meaning a place? Because when people ask me where I'm from, what have I said on this program? I'll tell you what I've said. What I say and what I recommend that other black people say. I'm from every place I've ever been, and I'm also from every place that I've never been, because that's always the truth. I'm from every place that I have ever been, and I'm also from every place that I have never been, and that is the truth. Now, I don't need to say nothing else about where I'm from, because where I'm from, what does that matter anyway? I'm from the next, if I'm in the kitchen and walk into the living room, I'm from the kitchen. And I'm also from the living room simultaneously. When I walk back in the kitchen, I'm from the living room, but I'm also from the kitchen, because I just walked out of the kitchen. See, it ain't from what, it comes down to what does where you're from have to do with anything. I'm from the jailhouse if I ain't been in it, but I am in jail, depending on what you mean by jail. I was born in jail. The system of white supremacy is a jail. So I can never testify under oath that I ain't never been in jail. I was born in jail. And that's the truth. See, always go with the truth. And don't get confused by words. Africa, Asia, American. Last week, after saying to somebody, one of the callers, I think it was last week or the week before that, kept talking about American. America did this and America did that. And according to the logic and according to the evidence, no American ever did anything to anybody, because it's never existed. An American is a person who does things. And the thing that American has to do is practice justice. And nobody has ever practiced justice in the history of the universe. Because somewhere, somebody's being mistreated. And like Martin Luther King said, he got it correct. Justice, if justice doesn't exist everywhere, it don't exist nowhere. And that's the truth. He told the truth. I mean, we don't understand truth. And many of us don't want to understand it. If it hurts, recently there were a lot of white people saying that the truth hurts. I don't want my children taught about CRT because that's the truth and it hurts. Well, truth is supposed to hurt. If it's supposed to hurt, that's how you get rid of the hurt. But you got to be truthful, first of all, with yourself. Do black people have anything to brag about? Tell the truth about that. The answer is no. If you're going to use logic, bragging, celebrating. We got anything to celebrate under the system of white supremacy? That's a slap in the face, in your own face right there. What am I doing celebrating in the system of white supremacy? Get rid of the system of white supremacy. That's the code.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. I'm gonna have to do some more thinking on that one, because you got me. You got me on that one. But I have
I'm not trying to get anybody. I'm saying
no, of course,
do
I
some
didn't mean
thinking.
it that way.
Okay.
Yes, that's
All
what
right.
I want to do. You're absolutely right. That's what I should have said. I'm gonna do more thinking on it.
All right,
but
Dollar.
I wanted to go to the book.
Go.
Just
Go ahead,
really
Dollar
quickly, Mr. Bombi. On page 129 in your book, in Politics of the original version, you go on to mention about that do not permit any feelings of friendship, cordiality, respect, and or affection toward any person, white or non-white, racist or non-racist, to interfere with or take precedence over any just and correct speech and or action in support of the elimination of racism, white supremacy. And then you give the reason that it is the greatest, that racism, white supremacy, is the greatest motivating force in the known universe in the promotion of combined falsehood, non-justice, and incorrectness. Therefore, it is best to eliminate racism so that feelings of friendship, cordiality, respect, and or affection can best promote truth in a manner that produces justice and correctness. Could you just elaborate on that? And I would like to stay on the line, Mr. Bob, and have a good day.
Okay.
Here's truth. You tell people you want the truth, and you want to produce a thing called justice, or rather you should want it, and a thing called correctness in order to have peace. And you don't let anything interfere with that. I mean, that's just fast forward so we can move on. I hope that answers the question. That your priority is your reason for breathing on the planet is, with all the other things that you do, your main reason for being here at this time in 2023 is to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. This should be the priority for every non-white person on planet Earth and for every white person who believes in justice. Rid the world of white supremacy as your priority and replace it with the system of justice, first order of business, which means guaranteeing, justice means guaranteeing that nobody's mistreated. You don't have justice if anybody's being mistreated. So you don't let so-called friendships or acquaintances and whatnot, you tell people right up front, this is my priority. This is my assignment. So everything has got to be helping to back up what I do when I'm on my assignment. And don't back me up when I'm not on my assignment. That's it.
All righty. Dollar, we're going to leave you on. Thank you for your call. And as we do that, we're going to thank everybody for listening to the first hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Do not forget to the publications, even as Dollar Bill referred to, can be obtained by going to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com. One more time. Producejustice.com is where you get all the books and the materials. We are closing out the first hour, so we'll have Mr. Fuller hopefully get a chance to expound on that in the second hour. But we'd like to thank you for your calls and for your participation in the chat room. Very interesting, but it will continue. So for those who have to go, we'll see you next week. We'll see you. Hopefully you'll have a good week. We'll apologize for any mistakes. Well, I apologize especially for any mistakes that I've made, and we will try to get better. Now, what we want you to do is to stay right there for those who are going to do that. I always try to say stick and stay, don't go away, because a second hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller will commence in about 21 seconds. So hang in there. Have a blessed day for those who have to go, and for those who stay right there, and we'll be right back. All righty, welcome back to the second hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we do appreciate you and welcome you to be a participant in today's show. Now, to do that, call this number, 516-453-9921. Press the number 1 button if you have a call and a brief comment. Now, mind you, Mr. Fuller takes his time in explaining whatever it is that you may ask. So it could be a little lengthy, but hang in there. We'll try to get to you. And the reason why that is because we make every effort to try to avoid confusion. So that's why that is. Okay. If you are a first-time caller, please inform the call screener that you are a first-time caller, and please, ma'am, please, sir, be sure to give them your name, and we have something that we will expedite for you so that you can be heard. You can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. We make every effort to try to get to those every show, but a lot of times we don't because the calls have priority over that. So bear in mind, if you do elect to use that method, I will read it. I will give you a symbol that I have it, and then at appropriate time, your Gmail will be read. And for those who I have contacted, they have appreciated, even if it's been a month or maybe even longer, but I did get back to you because we try to be very truthful with our words unless the machine automatically deletes it, so we don't want that to happen. Lastly, you can go into the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com, and then you want to make sure that you click on where it says programs, and the Produce Justice Show will come up after you do that. Well, one of the programs, Produce Justice Show, click on that, and the chat room is available. And you can get in there, and occasionally I will read one of the chats or some of the chats or the conversation in there, but this is important. Do not use the chat room to ask me a question to ask Mr. Fuller. That is what the phone call or the number is for. You do that there. Okay? All right. And all the books and materials can be obtained by going to producejustice.com. Please, ma'am, please, sir, use that producejustice.com. Past shows, including but not limited to Mr. Fuller's, was on the Carl Nelson show a couple of weeks ago. That's on there. And there are other past shows that are on there, too. So you can get that. You can't get enough of that, really. It helps you to understand, especially when you put that with the books and so forth. So make sure you do that. Okay. Oh, I'm happy now. 888 has joined that conversation. Very good. All right, let's go to, man, I tell you, New York is really representing today. Let's go to Tucson. Get ready, Tucson. You've been holding for almost an hour, but guess what? Your time has come. Tucson, you're on. Welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. I actually didn't know it told you how long that I've been waiting. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
But, yes, sir. So, Mr. Fuller, I wanted to ask, would you say, so 2 questions. Mr. Fuller, would you say that you are always codified to the best of your ability? And
let me answer that one.
Oh, God. No problem.
No, I'm not always codified. I'm not codified most of the time. It's very difficult to be codified. But I try to go, naturally, if I'm advocating something, somebody else does something, I should be willing to do it. So everything that I write, I try to do. And the things that I haven't run tests on everything that I have written about solving the race problem, which is what the books are about, solving the race problem. But the things I have tried, I've run tests on a few things, and they have held up, including that whole business about America and Americans and whatnot. And what's the procedure for the most part? Ask questions about what an American is, what an American isn't. That, for example. And I do that with a lot of other words. I'll ask, what do you mean by truth? Everybody talks about truth, Well, in the textbook, what's the definition of truth? That which is. That which is what? Is whatever it is. Like you hear black people use a slang. Tell it like it is. What do you mean like it is? Just tell it like it is. Don't tell it like it ain't. That ain't true. All right? And so that's as far as you can go with it. Just, call it what it does, or if you want to go that way, tell it like it does. You see somebody doing something, say they did it. That's true, revealing the truth. So, the use of words are very important in counter-racist science. But that's something that we grossly neglect. And I try to do that with the textbook and straighten some of that out. Because words matter. They do matter. That N-word matter. You hear black people almost become suicidal behind that word. Whereas the textbook, who victims of white supremacy, show you how to use it in such a way, when you hear somebody else use it, it doesn't bother you at all. Why? Because it tells you, how to handle it. And you just follow those instructions. Real simple. And I don't have any problems with it. I consult my own writings. Otherwise, I can't function very well at all. But there are some things, like I really had to work with real hard. This is, for example, my diet. I really didn't start working with that seriously until, out of all the years I've been here, about 15 years ago. That's kind of late. That's really kind of late to start being real serious about whether you'll have that cookie or not. But everybody out here right now should start thinking about that, just on what I'm saying right now. You probably got a box of cookies sitting in front of you. Think about it now. What are those cookies? What does it consist of? And when you house it in your body, what is it actually, that one cookie, what is it actually going to do inside of your body? Because it's going to do something. And whatever it does is either going to be what? Constructive or non-constructive. It's going to build your body up or it's going to tear it down. Just that one cookie. Think about it.
Okay. Cookie, man, you're hitting me hard. Toussaint, Brooklyn, thank you for your call, my brother. Appreciate that. Hang on, Joshua and Chris. Mr. Fuller, this is from the Gmails, and I'm glad you mentioned diet because Randolph wrote this. He said, hi, Mr. Fuller. I just wanted to ask you, hi, Mr. Fuller. I just wanted to ask on how you have lived to 90 and what tips would you give to live to that age. The reason I'm asking, Mr. Fuller, is that I had a family member who was close to me die in 2007 at the age of 66. This relative had a diet high in such things as pizza and Krispy Kreme donuts, etc. I have another close relative that's in a nursing home and is in bad health. Also, diseases such as diabetes run in my immediate and extended family. There is also a book named The China Study that documents how people, particularly in China and Japan, live to that age. But, Mr. Fuller, what did you do to, or tips that you could give to live to the age that you are living in?
I'll give a straight answer. Right out the code. I wasn't doing anything that I'm aware of up until really about age 40, where I was really into the core of codification. I was flirting around with ideas about it, that everything that works is codified. So, but, you know, I understood the principle, but I wasn't doing the practice myself, even though I was even advocating it for other people. I said, we need a code. We need a code for every move that we make, because the white supremacists have a code for every move that they make. And sometimes they violate their code when they look around and see that they have the luxury of doing so. They'll do things that are self-destructive. We see that with the fentanyl and all like that. But the white supremacists say, I can sit up here and be coked out and still be smarter than the smartest black person that you got who went to one of my schools. I know what they know because I'm the one that taught them. They went to my school. They ain't got no other school. Well, you know, they brag about it. They come to me talking about how smart they are, and I'm the one that gave them the school where they got smart. That goes to show how dumb they are. See, that's how the white supremacists talk when they're among themselves. See, that Negro came in here this morning trying to tell me something. And I knew what he was telling me when I was 5 years old. But nobody told him nothing about that he was talking about to me, showing me his knowledge until he was 50. Now compare that. I'm a white person. I'm as smart as a Negro who's 50 years old. And I'm 5 years old. Now, who's going to be the boss of anything? Me. That's logical. And he's walking around talking about what he knows with a suit and tie on that I gave him. Some of these Chinese leaders walking around in what they say is their attire. Communist Party and all of that. They're wearing suits and ties. I got them tied up. They don't even know it. Where'd they get that idea of a suit and a tie? It didn't come from them. They look just like me, Madison Avenue. Except they ain't like me. They Johnny-come-lateless and don't have sense enough to know it. I know everything that they'll ever know. No more than they'll ever know. They can huff and puff, strut around in their uniforms and all that, which they got from me. See, we got to understand how powerful white supremacy is. I hope I'm not getting off the subject, because the subject is white supremacy.
I think you
the more you know about white supremacy, the smarter you're getting. If you're black.
Okay. Well, you gave him your answer, so that was from the Gmails. Let's go to Joshua. At least that is what we call it in the Northwestern Hemisphere. Joshua, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Hold on, real quick. Sorry.
What is your question, Joshua? Excuse me.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast, and there was a person, a non-white person on there from the place they call North Korea, and she was explaining some of the things over there. And one of the things that she said that I found interesting was once she found what they call freedom, she would be thinking for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then she would get physically tired, have to lay down and go to sleep. And it's very, very hard to think for yourself. But I wanted to ask Mr. Fuller, those people, he says there's only non-white, white, and racist white people. And those people from the place that they call North Korea obviously do have melanin in their skin or color in their skin, but they do not look like us at all. And from what I understand, they absolutely positively hate the United States and are prepared to destroy us at any point in time. So us as Americans, or where we're at placed in the world, are we being, by trying to solve racism, are we being, I don't even know how to put it, because from what she explained was their lives are very hard over there. They have no freedom. So what do we have here? Because you say that we're in a prison system right now, but it seems like a pretty good prison system compared to where she's from, if that makes any sense.
I don't understand the question.
They're in North Korea eating bugs, eating rats. They don't have grocery stores. They don't have the government does not have to provide them with food. They are murdered at a much higher rate. If you commit a crime in North Korea, they can jail up to 8 generations of your family. So, isn't that true slavery?
What is the question?
Isn't that true slavery?
What about slavery?
You say that we're enslaved in
yes.
America.
Yeah,
okay.
No. I didn't say anything about enslaved in America. I don't. No. Well, I don't even know how to handle some of the questions that are put to me because the words, it's a foreign language to me now, and that, I guess that's my fault. I think I know what you're saying, but the words that are being used are the words that I'm saying shouldn't even be in the picture. See, words mean something. When you say Americans did this, you have lost me right there. Because Americans don't exist. I keep saying that. Not in counter-racist science. It's impossible for an American to exist, or an African or an Asian. It's absolutely impossible. You're talking about ideas that have never come to fruition. Being an American has never happened. It's something that everybody should want to be, because Americans practice justice. That's why we're trying to get justice. How can you have justice and say that you're trying to get justice when you already have it? Americans practice justice, period. Africans practice justice, period. And Asians practice justice, period. I've said that throughout this program and other programs. I keep saying that almost every week. That runs right past everybody. It's man, it goes to show you, have we given any thought to what we're saying? And you have professors who are doing that. Well, they clear their throats and they're wearing African garb. And then they start talking about Americans did this and Americans did that. And great African empires. Well, stop and think of what you're saying when you say that. African empire, is that justice? Is that justice? Is that civilization? And with a straight face. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Do we understand anything about white supremacy at all? Anything? And the answer is, most of us, the answer to that question is no. Right in the middle of it, and understand none of it. Looking right at it and seeing nothing. And that's what the textbook is supposed to help us do. And Neely Fuller, in answer to the letter that I got, that I read earlier today, it's like Neely Fuller starting from scratch. because he ain't competent enough to get people to see that these people called Americans do not and cannot exist in the system of white supremacy. It's impossible. Yet we keep referring to them like they do exist, and they have never existed. Americans have never existed. I'm saying that to the whole world. They can't be accused of doing anything. So who does exist? White people, non-white people, and white supremacists. That's what you got on planet Earth. Now, people might be bakers if they bake a cake, because they're baking a cake. But you can't be an American if you ain't practicing justice. And you can't be an African or an Asian. So these things don't exist. Bakers exist because bakers bake. Carpenters do carpentry work. What is carpentry work? Working with wood to make things. That's what carpenters do. Somebody said that's what Jesus did. That's a carpenter. You say, but some people who are Christians said Jesus was never a Christian. Jesus was never a Christian, and then they explain it. That's the way it's been explained to me. Jesus was Jesus of Nazareth. That's where he was said to be from. And Christianity was established by the people that he left behind. But he didn't join a church. He was Jesus, the Son of God. That's what some preachers have said. Then other preachers have said, oh, Jesus, no, that's not true. Technically, that was true, but in reality, that's not true. But then they start squabbling among themselves. And then that's when they start losing members of the church who go down to the next corner and build another church with a new name. And that's why you got confusion in Christianity, differences of opinion of people looking at the same thing but seeing something different. This is exactly what we're doing on this program now. But yes, hopefully, if we keep at it, we will all see what the truth is.
What the truth is.
Do Americans actually exist? Do Africans actually exist? People who practice justice, which means people who guarantee that nobody's mistreated. That's what you got to do. That's number one. And number two, you got to guarantee that everybody who needs help gets that help. Now, is that true anywhere on the planet? I don't care what you call it. Everybody who needs help, constructive help, gets it. Does that happen if you're an African? You guarantee that everybody who needs help is getting that help? If you're an Asian, is that true? Because that's what you got to do in order to qualify to be an Asian. You got to see to it that everybody who needs help gets it. Constructive help, that is.
Constructive help,
and you've got to do that to be an American.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep saying it over and over again until somebody makes an illustration of why that's not true. Because we got to start with the truth. Otherwise, Neely Fuller is leading people down the path of a whole bunch of lies.
With that being said, Mr. Fuller, every program that you and I have done, even when we were at talktainmentradio.com, you always, and even on today's program, you started off with this statement that, and we've even had shows about this statement. Starting off, the very first statement that you made, which was, and I want you to read it, about if you do not understand white supremacy, Could you repeat that so that people can hear that? Yes.
In the textbook updated version, 2016 version, revised, expanded, I took up a whole page. I didn't do that prior in the 1984 edition. If you do not understand white supremacy, parenthesis, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Now, that's either true or false. Now, some people have questioned me, which they should do. They say, well, are you saying if you don't understand white supremacy, you won't understand how to fix your breakfast? And I say, yeah. Everything else that you do understand will only confuse you. I'll be confused about fixing my breakfast because I don't understand white supremacy. That's what you're saying. And I said, if you don't understand white supremacy, first of all, what is breakfast? And where did you learn about breakfast? Who told you about breaking fast? Who had control of you having that thing that you call breakfast? Who has control of it now? See, these are the questions that you raise. Raise these questions for what? To see how everything is tied to the system of white supremacy, whether you know it or not. Everything is tightly tied. Every move you make, if you're black on planet Earth in 2023, if you're a person of color, it's tied to the system of white supremacy. So if you don't understand what you're tied to, you're going to be confused. It'll be harmful confusion or non-harmful, but it'll be confusion of some type, at a small level or at a grand level. But if you understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, even if you're white, you're going to be somewhat confused about everything, including why are you eating breakfast? And what are you eating for breakfast? Because the white supremacists have made that decision directly or indirectly.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Let me break it here so we can go straight through. You're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and we do sincerely thank you for listening. Now, to get in contact with the program, just call this number, as many of you have. Thank you, Nicole, True, Stan, and Chris. Thank you. Those are on hold. Call this number, 516-453-9921. Make sure you press the number 1 button, as those have, and we will make every effort to get to you and your question. Now, be aware that Mr. Fuller takes his time in answering your questions with many examples so that we won't be confused. We want to try to avoid that as much as possible. Make sure you get a call screening your name. First-time callers, you get a little special break. If you're a first-time caller and Robert or Sharon or Moon Pie or whoever is back there, they know if you're a first-time caller, our program has been set up that you can get through. So don't worry about that. Just to make sure that you give them your name. Okay? So we can do that. You can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, that's Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. And I will give you my symbol when I get it. And when I read it, I will also give you the symbol and read it and let you know the date and time that it will be read. Okay, and lastly, you can join the chat room at blogtalkradio.com. You want to get that, click on where it says shows, and get the Produce Justice program or show. Yeah. And once you do that, then the chat room becomes available to you, and then you can get in the chat and occasionally I will read something from the chat room, but please do this. Do not get in the chat room to ask me a question to ask Mr. Fuller, because it's not going to happen, Captain. It's just not going to happen. That's what the Gmail and the phone number is for, so we'll try to get to you as we can. But we have to give Mr. Fuller the opportunity to answer your questions because we have a jewel right here, so let's don't abuse that. Books and materials can be obtained by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com. And make sure you do it that way so that Mr. Fuller can generate some income in here. And beware of there are some imposters that are trying to do some bad things. So just go to producejustice.com and you can be sure. All right. I think that's it. Hopefully we have done what we are supposed to do. Let me see here. Yeah, almost let that go. Okay, here we go. Back to the phone lines. Chris Houston, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Chris.
Can I be heard? Can you hear me? Hello?
Go right ahead, sir.
Okay.
Hello?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fuller, if you saw a saucer, and this is legitimate, fly over your house, what would you think about white supremacy at that point?
If I saw a saucer flying over my house,
fly over your house, yes.
I would think that has something to do with white supremacy.
Directly or indirectly, correct?
Yes, because, I look up and I see a saucer in the sky. I would think that if I see it, the white supremacists are more sophisticated and they're the smartest people on the planet. They know about it.
Now, let me ask you this, Mr. Fuller. Thank you for answering that question. Let me ask you this. If you were to go on to a NASA website and you just constantly searched because you were obsessed and you found an image on that website of something that looks like a being on Mars that NASA didn't catch, how would you feel about that? Would you think that being had something to do with white supremacy?
That would be my first reaction until proven different. Because everything that I know about, the white supremacists know about. I don't know of anything that I know that the white supremacists don't already know. I cannot name one thing in any area of activity, and it's 9 of them according to what I have written. Economics. I can't think of anything that I know about economics, the use of time and energy and money and everything like that, everything that has to do with economics. I think the white supremacists know it if I know it. Same way with education. If I know it, they know it. Entertainment. If I know it, they know it. Labor, law, politics, all the different types of parties and the way people interact with each other, the whole field of psychiatry. If I know it, they know it.
Okay.
Sex. What's sex all about? What is sex? What isn't sex? If I know it, they know it. War. Oh boy. You better believe if I know it, they know it. War. You're talking about killing people? Some black people walk around, all day bragging about who they kill. They don't know nothing about killing if they compare themselves to the white supremacists. White supremacists, man, you talking about killing, and you think you're going to tell them you know more about killing than they do? Man, they're going to roll in the floor laughing forever. So we're the greatest killers that ever were, or probably ever will be. Up to now, we are. Will be. We know what killing is going to be like 50 centuries from now. Y'all, you black people think you know something about killing. With that little pop gun that I gave you. Get out of my face.
All righty. All right, let's go to Stan. Oh, wait a minute, Stan. Let me see if I can get... Okay, there you go, Stan.
Okay. Good morning, gentlemen. Just wanted to say a couple of things. One, Mr. Fuller, thank you for reading that letter earlier. It shows maturity on your part to break that down and explain it. And I say that because I don't think people really listen to you closely. You know, you say things like, you know, hey, don't listen to Fuller. And you also say, you acknowledge that there are different personality types. So one person might handle something different than the other. So you leave that open for people. And I think they lose sight of that. And when somebody makes an accusation about someone, like they call them a house Negro or a Sambo or something like that, what I have found is that people typically, they go into a shell and they just move over closer towards being that. So I just wanted to thank you for being willing to confront that and talk about it. But the question that I had is a few weeks ago, you know, that situation happened on television with T.J. Holmes and him being involved in a relationship with a white woman on at the television station. And typically I would throw something like that in the gossip category, like I really could care less about that. But I was listening to the Karen Hunter show, and Dr. Welsing had been on that show before, but they were talking about T.J. Holmes and saying things like, well, you know, he should have known better, and this is a white company, and you can't be parading in front of these white people like that. And I just feel that it's unhealthy to talk like that. And after all, these are publicly traded companies. So Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby can purchase 10,000 shares of Disney or Viacom or whatever company it is. So the question I have to you is that proper to say that this is a white company, or that we shouldn't be parading in front of white people like this? And I'd like to stay on the line and hear.
All righty. Gotcha. All right. Ms. Fuller?
Well, the code says that the system of white supremacy allows black people to do whatever it is that we do, if we are doing it. And if it's something that the white supremacists disagree with, they stop us from doing it. I've never seen that fail. They just simply walk up and say, you can't do that. That's what they said to me. And I've always obeyed. That's what white supremacy means, supreme. You obey them one way or another if you're going to stay here. By here, I mean on this planet. Or you're going to suffer. In many cases, every day, as we see and witness and cry about, we're going to see death real quick. If they're really serious about what you're doing and they say that's what you're going to get if you keep doing what you're doing. They let black people know that right now. And we understand that. Now, we do a whole lot of talking, but when it comes crunch time, they say, look, I'm sick of this. Now, you keep it up, you're going to be dead before 5 o'clock today. All right? And ain't nobody can save you. That's what white supremacy means. And they prove it. Mm-hmm. Everybody who is challenged, that what they say, the white supremacists say is a guarantee, ain't nobody going to overrule me. Nobody. You don't know nobody. You can't get none of your gang members or nobody to go up against me. They melt. And their grandpapas and mothers and grandmothers and whatnot get out on their knees if I tell them to. So who do you think you got? Who you going to call on with your brave black self? Well, I'm going to call on the spirits and whatnot. Well, call them. And you'll find that the spirits are backing me after I whip you. I can prove it to you better than I can, talk to you about it. Now get out of my face, Negro, and get back in that ditch where I put you. Now, every time they have said that, they have proven that they mean what they say. When you really put it to it, all these black people who want to test them, go ahead. I test them, but I'm cautious about how I do it. I talk.
Yes, sir.
But when I get ready to act, I'm very cautious. Why? Because I understand white supremacy. That's why. Now, like a letter writer to me, saying that I was afraid, do I have fear? I have what you call intelligent fear. I know that the white supremacists can hurt me in 10 minutes or less if they set out to do it. And they can announce it to the whole world. I'm sending, an army over to put a hurting on Neely forward. Now, anybody want to take me on? So that's what you're going to see me do. And I'm going to gun down everybody who shows up who will oppose me in doing it. Now, is there anybody anywhere that think they can handle me when I get ready to do what I'm going to do in the next 15 minutes? I haven't seen the white supremacists back down yet from any black people who say, yeah, I'm coming. I got something for you.
Whoa. Okay. I was going to ask you a question about that song, Strange Fruit. Maybe I'll do that at another time. I told you that I love you. Now get out. True. ATL.
Oh, come on.
You are there.
Oh, yes. I wanted to say some things. The last time I was trying to talk, ask Fuller to please remove his sensitivity and use of the word white, because he thinks that it's the strongest that's ever been in the world, and it's not. Because this is just karma going back and forth. It's in the Bible that if you had something white, that was considered an infection, and you were to be shut off from everybody. So this was done to them first. Of course, when we get on religion that's relying on something on earth, the Creator is going to test us with it. So if he pop you out, you black people, non-white, whatever you want to call it, he pop you out, you going by these religious things, say if somebody gets something white on them, they sick. They got to be deemed from everybody. So the Creator's like, wait, so they going to go just by them words? Like I ain't going by intention? So he pops them out a full white child. Now, common sense, let somebody know the Creator is reminding you, I'm in control. It's you that's got something wrong in you. Here go a full white child. Do something to it. So they do something to it because they going by this that they rely on from earth. Then by the Creator. I don't know. What do they do? They deem it to the other side of the earth? I don't know. They bury it in the ground. What do they do to the little baby? That's completely white. But you got to understand, you saying white supremacy is not constructive. And it lets me know that you don't understand the Creator is in control. The reason why white people seem or perceived supreme to you is because you are the stronger. And when you are in control, you will not take care of them.
Okay, True. I'm going to have to kind of cut that because we're running out of time. But we thank you for your question there or your comment. VGQ. Nicole. And Nicole, you're up.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. A couple of things. Mr. Fuller, when he started off about the fire, I can relate to that because my uncle blew himself up, and I'm on court for that. Then my second thing was when he said about religion. It just seems to me like Dr. Fuller, Mr. Fuller was saying, is that somebody take the Bible out of context, and anybody can take whatever they want out of that and capitalize on that. And you have so many churches that's not really saving the people or doing anything these days. And then lastly, I wanted to comment on what the young lady just said about religion and what she was saying about the white child. The point that I get out of Mr. Neely Fuller is that America is an ideology of different people's ideas of what religion looks like. And it's not, and I feel like we as people need to have, as Dr. Wilson said, study the pool table, what that means, the symbolicness, because that Bible is very locked in with a lot of symbolicness that's really captivating a lot of people. And I have more to say, but I know we're running out of time, and I thank you for taking out time.
All right,
for
thank
me
you,
today.
Nicole, and we'll put that under VGQ. Thanks for listening. All righty, Ray in Dallas. Let me see here if I can get you in here, Ray. All right, Ray, we're running, but go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Fuller. How exactly is countering racism going to persuade the white supremacists to produce justice or kill us all?
By us, what we do. We keep saying things. A lot of white supremacists are really upset, a lot of white people, doing something I've been asking black people to do. Learn how to use words when you're talking to white people. Now, it took me decades, to get people to say, rather than brag about black people and Black History Month and all like that, start telling the truth about what the relationship is on a daily basis, and as far back as when white supremacy began. Just tell the truth about it in the schools. Just use words. That's all. And so a few people, apparently, directly or indirectly, must have gotten that message either from me or somebody else. Doesn't matter who it came from. If it's the truth, just start telling the truth about the relationship between white people and black people each and every day. What is the real relationship? And so when a few black people start doing that, rather than pretending that it ain't there, all right, and they call it CRT, or being woke, and white people start getting upset about it. Why? Because it's the truth, that's why. And I said, that's all you really need to get this thing, off of stuck in one place, as Dr. Kathy Hughes says, of Radio 1, stuck on stupid, SOS.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said, she used to say that all the time on the air.
Yeah.
Black people are SOS, stuck on stupid.
Stuck on stupid.
Gotten to the place where we just love to be stupid and talk stupid, do stupid things. Just stuck on stupid.
Yeah.
Okay? So,
all right.
And so that's what we got to, and so now, like I think the lady is Miss, if you're just going to call some names, Miss Hannah Jones. I think she kind of a lady, that's what's come to my attention. I don't know the lady, anything like that, but it looks like a whole lot of white people are upset about something called CRT, which is critical race theory. I don't even know what it is, but it looks like a lot of white people are upset. And they say, well, why are they upset? Because they're telling the truth. CRT is just about telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Telling the truth about what? About the real relationship between white people and black people.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing, just telling the truth about it. And I'm saying that white people are getting upset about that. Unless they're white supremacists, they shouldn't get upset about that. They should embrace that.
Yeah.
Unless they just want to maintain white supremacy.
Yeah,
now,
Nicole
make your
Hannah-Jones.
choice.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, Ray. Let's go to Terrence. Let's see. Yeah, you're in there. Go ahead, Terrence. What is your question for Mr. Fuller quickly?
Hey, good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is ZZQ from Tennessee.
Okay.
One is I saw a movie and I rented it from the library actually, and Mr. Fuller may be familiar with this movie. It's called The Spook Who Sat by the Door, and it was like a black exploitation movie, but it was very, very interesting. And it showed a gentleman who was trained by the CIA as a so-called time, and then he went to Chicago and took all the training he got to form underground, like a Black Power movement.
Right.
So it was kind of fancy.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, but it was a really good movie. The other thing I want to pass on to the listeners is, I guess regarding Black history, I saw this thing on YouTube. It said 15 untold Black history inventors, and it was very, very interesting. It's in YouTube. And my last VGQ is about Black history, and it goes along with some of the things that Mr. Fuller has said. So when I look at Black history and when you really study it, then what you kind of find out is Black history is inseparable from white history. So for every Jackie Robinson that broke the color line, it actually was a white person, Branch Rickey, who gave him the shot to break the color line. You have Martin Luther King and his triumphs and stuff, and then you wouldn't have them without the Kennedys. Even Black History Month, when you go back and look at it, you see Carter G. Woodson, who started it, and it was just, but he actually was trained. So what I'm saying is, we look at it, you need to see that it still is connected in how strong white supremacy really is.
Okay. Hey, Terrence, before you go, and since you brought this up,
yes.
Look as you study your Black history, which is 24/7, 365. Look and see who Moses Fleetwood Walker was and his brother Weldon. Hint, they were before Jackie Robinson, but check that out. All right, my brother, thanks for your call. Justin, we're going to squeeze you in here very quickly from Mr. Fuller. Go ahead with your question. Okay, Justin, quickly, we're going to get you in there with Mr. Fuller.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. It's got to be quick because we're running out of time. Go ahead.
I'll just have a question. When he uses the term white supremacist or white supremacy, that automatically makes white people act, so you don't like white people? And I just wonder, in his opinion, why are white people worried about if non-white people like them or not?
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
First of all, you can ask them, pay attention to words. When somebody says anything to you, pay attention to every word that they said. Now, first thing you want to know, what do you mean, sir or ma'am, and always be polite, or that's a code requirement, about liking? See, I have to know what you're saying. I have to understand what you're asking me in order for me to answer correctly and truthfully. I have to know what you're saying. And I do a lot of that right here on this program. That's why it takes up a whole lot of time. A person will ask me a question. You do the same thing with white people. You want to know, wait a minute, what do you mean by that? That word, you said like? What do you mean by like, sir or ma'am? And don't move to the second question until the first question is answered. That's a part of the code. Never do that. Because if you do that, you're going to get what? Confusion. That's the one thing you never want. You never want confusion in a conversation. Ever. Not 1 ounce of it. Because it leads to disaster. Okay? You're not going to make any progress if you've got confusion. So, how do you get out of the confusion? Know what the person is saying. The person says, do you like white people or do you dislike white? What do you mean by like and dislike? Sir or ma'am. And then sit back and don't interfere with the answer. I think everybody has a tendency to do that, or most people anyway. I know I do. I have a tendency to do that. You have to really watch yourself. Don't start trying to tell them what the answer is. You already got your answer. You want to know the other person's answer. What do you mean when you say like? What is the characteristics of liking somebody? What do you do when you like somebody? What do you actually do? See, it always comes down to the doing part.
Yes, sir.
Not to the feeling part.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. See, people got feelings all over the place. But what do you do when you say, I like that person? What do you do to prove what you just said? You like that person? You like L-I-K-E, that person? What do you do that proves that you like that person?
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Get in the habit of that. You'll be surprised at what happens when you start doing that. Just start asking, what do you mean when you say that?
Okay. All right, Justin, thank you for your call. Last caller. Right here, let me see if I get you in. The dollar again, real quick, dollar.
Oh, my God. Thank you from Mr. Bob. I just wanted to say, Mr. Fuller, don't worry about that letter. I heard it from that gentleman in the first hour because I think he's criticizing, just like most people criticize most people who were making some type of trying to make an improvement on our society. You're going to have the haters all the time coming out to tell you opposite of what really you're doing, which is trying to do something constructive. So I wanted to say that, and thank you, Mr. Fuller.
All right, the dollar got in again. Doing good. Well, we've come to that time of the show. So, Mr. Fuller, about a minute, I'm sorry, but a minute to speak about your book.
Well, I just want to go back to the first part of this program. I don't want anyone to think that they can't, quote, unquote, criticize what I'm doing or what I'm saying. I want the full load, whatever you really think. Tell me particularly, like they say in the mafiosa, I want the bad news first. If I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, or I'm coming across to people in a way that I shouldn't, which means doing something that I shouldn't be doing, I'm the first one that wants to know. I mean, and tell the whole world, because I'm out here talking to the whole world. I'm on a podcast. They say that when I'm on a podcast, I'm talking to the whole world. Mm-hmm. So if I say anything that sounds like it doesn't make sense and that I'm on the incorrect track, like the lady that's called in just recently talking about religion and all like that, I wanted her to continue. Because if I'm doing anything that involves religion that I shouldn't be doing, I want to hear about it.
Yes.
And an explanation for it. And then what we'll do, we'll find out the truth. Because that's all I'm looking for.
Right.
That's all anybody should be looking for. There are enough lies. All right? We just need the truth. And so that from that, you can get justice and correctness. We want to fast forward it. I think the person that's so-called criticizing me, they wasn't criticizing me. They're trying to find the truth, I guess. I hope that it is.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do.
Where can we get that book, Mr. Fuller?
Get the book by going to producejustice.com. And the word guide that goes with it, because it seems like we're really lost when it comes to the use of words.
All right.
How to use words, period.
ProduceJustice.com. Okay, we're going to have to go, but thank you, everybody, for listening. We made a lot of mistakes, but we'll try to do better than next time. Everybody have a good week. You too, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, everybody. We'll do better. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.